when your persecution is only a perspective, mainly just you complaining developed by years of turmoil and sadness. Who are you in the world, and do they see you? Imagine if your tears were invisible. As a black man, we are taught it is as good as it is going to get. To stop complaining about the current climate because things used to be worse. Many black people run away from our history because we've been misinformed. We don't want to learn about our history from what we've been taught because it starts with trauma and ends with trauma. We are desensitized to black oppression and black pain. We honor heroes without telling the full story. Martin Luther King Jr., a national hero who was bullied by the citizens in America. His houses were bombed. He was pulled over constantly. He was beat up for voting. He had a $50,000 bounty on his head from the KKK. He was sent letters by government officials asking him to kill himself. His colleagues and friends were harassed, shot, and killed. Sometimes I wonder if Martin Luther King's dream was really fulfilled. I wonder if we've heard all 16 minutes of the I Have a Dream speech, because a problem half spoken is a problem half solved. I wonder if heaven has hallways and Trayvon Martin is running down one and Martin Luther King is saying to slow down. I wonder if there are bonfires up there where Philando Castile makes kids laugh and Sandra Bland is rooting up there for our sisters like Centonia Brown, who has dealt with the unfair hand of the justice system. I wonder if MLK will be okay with police brutality, mass incarceration. Sometimes I wonder if Martin Luther King's dream is truthfully fulfilled. I wonder if Martin Luther King will be okay with my story. So I wrote it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about my testimony. Let's talk about those thoughts that keep my mind in this negative terminal. I've lost 52 friends to gun violence. Let's talk about those nights. Let's talk about that pain. Are you listening? It's like you can't hear me. You can't hear my pain. You can't make me make myself feel better. And I learned at a young age it was never about the cheddar. So many friends in prison because of it, and I can't even swallow my pride and write them a letter. Let's talk about why my people want to be so flashy and gain so much from self-indulgence. See, I'm not blaming you all, but you told me I was a criminal before I knew what jail was. You told me I was less than before I could add or subtract. Let's talk about those days at my friend's house hearing, why is this nigger in my house? Let's talk about my first best friend having to stop hanging out with me in 5th grade because hanging out with black kids would lead him to trouble. Let's talk about how I have to take my hands out of my pockets before I go into any store just so I won't be convicted of suspicion. Let's talk about how I have to walk across the street if I see a woman on the same side of the street as me in fear that she is in fear. Let's talk about the accidental macing that happened to me when I sneezed walking past a woman. And maybe she was trying to bless me, but the only substitute she had for holy water was mace. Let's talk about this illusion, this confusion. You don't know me, but you can find me. My people are lost, and I am still trying to find me. I want to talk to you about why you have these irrational fears. But it only seems on Martin Luther King Day is when you want to talk about it. In the famous words of Martin Luther King, I'd like to ask you guys a favor. Would you please stand for me? Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he's standing in moments of comfort or convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." So if you don't do anything else today, I ask you to figure out where you stand in such a challenging and controversial time in America. Thank you.